Welcome back, folks. Today we'll be talking about Blackbird and all the theoretical and practical things that you can learn in your journey of becoming a musician and guitar player, guitar picker. Okay, something kind of sort of like that. So, what are the things you can pick up from Blackbird? You can pick up a couple of practical things, technical things in terms of technique. One is this kind of altered Travis picking, where your thumb is going from the bass notes on the bass 3 strings all the way up to the G string over here, and that G string is being used as a drone. So the second concept and practical thing is how to use the drone within a chord progression. And this is a G chord progression, so the G drone string is very easily available over here. So that's number 2 in terms of technique. Now in terms of theory, there's many things that you can pick up. One, the most important one is harmonizing a scale diatonically. So in this case, we have the G major scale. How to harmonize it in thirds, and then actually interject a whole octave to make everything into a 10th interval. So third interval becomes an octave plus 3, so that's the 10th interval. So you're still doing majors and minors of all the 7 diatonic chords, or 7 diatonic chords. It might be flat 7 at some points. So here's one. So this is the scale in thirds. Here's the scale in tenths. Okay, the same scale, instead of just doing major, you move one of the root note down by an whole octave, and you keep the third in the same place. So that's another thing. So this is, again, you get to learn the thirds, you get to learn the tenths, harmonization of a scale. You also get to accommodate the intervening notes when you are moving up chromatically. So when the song moves up from the 4 to the 5, it takes in between. So it takes the flat 5 or the 4 sharp note, and it harmonizes that note with its flat 5th or the diminished 5th. So instead of doing that on the root and the flat 5 close by, there's again a whole octave interjected in between. It becomes like this: octave plus flat 5. So that's like a diminished 12th interval. You also get to visualize, exactly what diminished chord is that coming from. So this is the shape of the diminished chord. So in a way, you get to visualize the whole, relationship between all the notes of the G major scale and the intervening chromatic notes, and how they can be harmonized as 2-note or complete chords, and then only partial segments of those chords are really used in terms of what happens in the song. There are other things you can pick up. So like towards the end, we have the C major, which is the 4th chord, changing to a C minor. Now that's a very common move in Tin Pan Alley and music hall and jazz, early jazz songs, where the 4 minor chord leads back to the 1 chord. And that's exactly what is happening in the last part of Blackbird. You also get to check out the standard 2-5-1s, but with the 2 replaced by the secondary dominant, which is the 2 flat 7. So the 2-5-7 progression in G is A minor or A minor 7 into a D 7 and G. But over here you have the A flat 7, sorry, A dominant 7. This is again at the end of the whole passage. So that's again something from Tin Pan Alley and jazz that you have in this song. So in a way, you know, if you really look close as you're learning a song like this, you pick up all the almost all the tricks that were common to Beatles compositions, because Beatles were not coming from a rock and roll background. They were coming from music hall and Tin Pan Alley, which was the main music of the first half of the century. You know, rock and roll and skiffle were around just for about 3 years before the Beatles got together. Okay, so let's start with this is going to be a long lesson. So the first technique is Travis picking, but slightly altered. So most of the time when somebody is showing you Travis picking, they will show you these patterns, you know, on 4 strings. You pick up any chord and you start playing the bass notes on the bass strings, and you use your 2 fingers on 2 of the treble strings. So I've shown this in one other tutorial before. There are 2 common patterns. One is called the inside out pattern, where you have a bass string, inside treble, bass string, outside treble. So that's one of the Travis picking patterns. The other one is opposite. You have the bass string outside, bass string inside. What's happening in Blackbird is that the thumb is actually jumping from wherever the bass string happens to be, either on the 6th or the 5th string, to the drone note, which is the continuous G. So no matter what the chord around that is, the inside voice stays on the drone. So you only have to use one finger for the high note, whichever finger you use. You can use this or this. That's up to you. Okay, so this is the essential motion when your bass note is on the 6th string, and that is only for one chord, which is the G chord. So this is again 1 and 2 and. The idea is to avoid hitting any of the other notes unless you are muting them somehow. So if you're not muting them, you can play the D by mistake on the G chord, no problem, because it's within the chord. But on other chords there might be some problems. So the idea is just to hit the bass note and then the higher bass note on the open G string. Now you come to the second note. You are now, the bass is now on the A. So G to A to B to C. Okay. So on A, where's your third note? This is the third note, because this is the A minor chord. But you're not playing the whole chord, you're playing just the bass. You are skipping this A and you're taking its minor third over here. Bass and minor third, A and minor third, and in between you continue with your drone. So you have this pattern. Get to the B note and you still have the flat third on top with the G in the middle. You get to the C, now you have the major third on top. So again, another thing to notice in all of this is exactly where these, like orient yourself to the roadmap. So where are these notes coming from? Do you have a big gap? Sometimes it's difficult to visualize. But that's something that you learn to visualize. So before you go to the, visualizing the tenths, which is the octave plus third, you first have to learn to, harmonize the G major scale in thirds, and just look at that, each note and its third from within the scale. So let's look at the G major scale on one string. only up to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's the same scale on the next higher string? So all you have to do in tertial harmony, which is the main kind of harmony in the Western tonal system, that you pick up a note and you pick up the third note above that, skipping the note, the second note in between, and you find the major and minor chords in a scale. So you can do it on one scale by playing in arpeggios. So G and third, A and its third, and then B and its third, C and its third. Third meaning whatever is the note after the next one. Now you can do that on two strings which are back to back. In that case you can pick them together. So G and its third, A and its third, B and its third, C and its third, G and its third, E and its third, F sharp and its third, G and its third. Okay, so that's how you find double stops, which are partial chords. You know, each note of the scale harmonized with its third, and it just happens to be that the 1, the 4, and the 5 will be harmonized with major thirds, which is 4 semitones apart, and the second, the third, the 6th, and the 7th will be harmonized with the minor third, because that's what happens to be the diatonic note a third above within the scale. Okay, so that's one way of visualizing what you're going for in Blackbird. You take that, this is your A minor. Now in place of playing this A, you play this A, an octave below, but keep the same third. So now you have an octave plus a third, which is the 10th interval. Same thing. In B, you don't take this B, you take this B and the same third, and becomes like this, 10th interval, basically a B minor still. Same with C, it is a major, D is the major, E is the minor. Now in the interlude part, you will have a switch to a G Mixolydian scale where the 7th note will be a flat, and that will be harmonized with its major third. And another new thing that happens in that part is that over here we have the B flat, which is actually the minor third. So the B has gone out, so we are not in G major scale anymore. We had flat 7, a 6, a 5, a 4, and a flat 3. So in a way, it's not even Mixolydian, it might be Dorian really. But we don't really, I don't really get a complete sense of exactly whether we're in the Mixolydian or Dorian mode over there. Okay, so back to looking at these extended intervals. In place of having thirds, we have with a tone in the middle. Now, what are the other main chords in the songs? They are based on notes which are intervening between the scale notes. So the scale notes will be called diatonic tones or notes, and the non-scalar tones, which are passing tones in the song, they don't stay for a long time. They are part of the chromatic scale, which is all the 12 notes starting from anywhere, in this case starting from G. So those, because they are transient and they will take unstable chords, and the most unstable chord is the diminished chord. And a diminished chord is made of notes which are not within the scale, which makes it very unstable and wanting to go to either back or forwards to the next note, among other things. It can also go elsewhere. So you have the fourth harmonized with its major third, C. Now you have C sharp harmonized with its flat fifth or the diminished fifth interval over it. But again, instead of doing it within the same octave, Paul McCartney does it in the other octave. So you have, so this is actually coming out of this D, this diminished shape, which actually is in the top, in the middle four strings. So you have the root over here, the flat 5 over here, the 6, which is the diminished 7th. So 7th, flat 7th, double flat 7th, or diminished 7th over here, and you have the minor third over here. So in C sharp, this is the flat 5, this is the 6, this is the minor third. Now, we don't need all the notes of the diminished to actually articulate the diminished. All we need is the note, that's the intervening note between the C and the D. We are going up this. So we take that and the flat 5 over here, but in that shape, look at where's the next one. This we can identify that this is the flat 5, which is the G, and G we know is also available here. So we play this note over here and G over here. So that becomes the shape. If your root note is over here, then one fret below on the one string you have the flat 5 of that, but removed by one additional octave. So in a way that's a diminished 12th interval. So what do we have here? 4 major, 4 sharp, diminished, 5 major, 5 sharp, diminished, 6 minor. So this is this progression. And then again it chromatically descends to a E flat major, which is again a passing chord. Again going down, same thing, from the 5 major to the flat 5 diminished in the same extended interval. Now we have C major, which is the 4th chord, going to a C minor, which is the 4 minor chord, which I already talked about how that leads back to the 1 chord. Now this is a common thing that you have in all kinds of Tin Pan Alley songs. I'll mention a couple. One of them is All of Me, and the other one would be I'll See You in My Dreams, where the F chord goes to the F F minor before leading back to the root C. Okay, so those are some of the devices that the song is using. You can check out my other video where I play the whole song. Now let me play the last part as an outro. And if you have any questions about any of these things, and if you want me to elaborate on any of these things, I can do that in an additional video, but I need to hear from some people for that. Okay.